welcome back. You didn't come here for cliches or recycled advice. You came because something in you refuses to be ordinary. Because deep down, you know the loudest man in the room is rarely the one who's remembered. In this video, we won't talk about pickup lines, gifts, or grand gestures. No, we're going to reveal something far more powerful. A single action so calm, so confident, so controlled that it shifts how a woman sees you forever. Not because you tried to impress her, but because you showed her a man she couldn't control and couldn't forget. So breathe deep, slow down, and let's begin. Because after this, you'll never need to prove yourself again. The power of one silent move. Number 1, the power of one silent move that redefines you. There comes a moment in every man's journey when he realizes words can fail. Gifts can be forgotten, and even passion fades, but present stays. Today, you won't be told how to impress her with fancy dinners, elaborate texts, or exaggerated flattery. No. What you're about to learn is simpler and infinitely more powerful, a single act rooted in self-restraint that changes the way she sees you, not just for a night, but forever. This isn't a trick. This isn't manipulation. It's not about becoming someone else to gain her attention. It's about becoming so deeply aligned with yourself that her perception is forced to shift. You stop being the man who needs her approval and start becoming the man she can't define and therefore can't forget. This idea might sound counterintuitive in a culture obsessed with instant gratification and emotional outpourings. But in truth, what draws a woman in is not your availability. It's your mystery, it's not your declarations, it's your self-discipline. And that begins with a moment. One moment where she expects you to react, to chase, to plead, and instead you do the opposite. You stand still, calm, collected, silent. Imagine she's testing you using sarcasm distance or a passive-aggressive comment to provoke you. Most men fall right into the trap, defending themselves, explaining, trying to fix the discomfort. But not you. You don't flinch. You don't raise your voice. You don't even blink. You smile slightly. Not because you're dismissing her, but because you're anchored in something she doesn't understand. Inner control, that stillness, that lack of emotional reaction disrupts her narrative. In her world, men react. They chase, they try to win her back. But when you don't, when you simply allow the moment to pass, without needing to correct or compete, you become unpredictable, intriguing, irresistible. Why? Because humans crave what they can't control. And in that moment, she realizes she doesn't control you. She doesn't even fully understand you. And that's the beginning of a shift, not in her opinion, but in her emotional attachment. The Stoic philosophers, especially Epictetus, taught that freedom is the only worthy goal in life. And freedom begins with restraint. You do not react because you are afraid. You do not react because you are free. Free from the need to be liked. Free from the fear of losing someone. Free from the emotional roller coaster that traps so many men. This silent move, the act of not responding, when she expects a reaction, is not weakness. It's power in its most elegant form. And the result, she begins to see you, not as the man who will orbit her moods, but as the man whose mood is sovereign. And that whether she knows it or not, is the man she begins to chase. The power of walking away without a word. Number 2, the power of walking away without a word. There is a silence that screams louder than any argument. And it's not the silence of defeat, but the silence of self-respect. After you've mastered the art of not reacting. The next level of masculine power is the silent withdrawal. It happens when she starts playing games, when her attention becomes inconsistent, her messages become unclear. Her presence feels like a strategy instead of a connection. She wants you to ask what's wrong. She wants to see you lose balance. She wants confirmation that you still care. But instead of chasing clarity, you walk away. Not with anger, not with drama, just with peace. No message, no explanation, no emotional closure. Why does this work? Because for someone who expects emotional fireworks, your absence is a thunderclap. It shakes the foundation she thought was secure. The idea that she had power over your reactions. When you disappear, you interrupt the pattern. You disrupt the script in her mind. And suddenly, she starts writing a new one. You see, when most men feel neglected or manipulated, they become desperate for resolution. They try to prove their worth, they beg for answers, and in doing so, they hand over their dignity. But the Stoic man does the opposite. He values his peace more than her confusion. His presence is too valuable to be wasted in spaces that no longer honour it. According to Marcus Aurelius, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. And in love, that means you don't mirror her games. You rise above them. You don't explain your worth. You let your absence highlight it. She might notice right away, or it might take days. But one thing is certain. Your silence will echo in her mind far longer than your words ever could, because when a man who once cared suddenly vanishes, it forces reflection. It makes her wonder, why did he stop? Was I too much? Did I push too far? Did I lose something I didn't realize I had? You've now transformed from someone who needs her into someone she needs to understand. And here's what most men never grasp. Walking away isn't about punishment. It's not about teaching her a lesson. It's about protecting your soul. It's about refusing to fight for space in a world that's trying to shrink you. When you disappear without warning, you send a silent message. I am not here to be tolerated. I am here to be chosen. And if I'm not, then I choose myself. This is not detachment. This is depth. This is not manipulation. This is masculine maturity, because in the absence of your voice, she begins to hear your value. And if she's the right one, she'll come back differently. If not then, your silence saved you from years of emotional noise. Music. Make her wait. Number 3. Make her wait and feel the weight of your absence. In a world of instant gratification, nothing stands out more than patience, especially when it's coming from a man who refuses to rush for approval. Most men reply instantly. They rearrange their schedule at the first sign of interest. They cancel plans, pause workouts, skip sleep, just to be available. And what happens? They become predictable, convenient, replaceable. But when you make her wait, not out of arrogance, but because your time has value, you shift everything. She starts wondering where you are, who you're with, what's taking your attention away from her, and that, my friend, is where the mystery begins. This is not about playing games. It's about shifting energy when you slow down your responses, when you don't jump to accommodate. You're showing her something more powerful than affection. You're showing her self-discipline. Because a man who doesn't rush is a man who doesn't chase validation. He values his focus, his goals, his solitude, and women sense that. They feel that they may not say it, but they know a man who doesn't urgently respond is not sitting by his phone waiting for approval. He's building, he's moving, he's choosing. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca once wrote, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." And in modern love, that translates to this. If you're always available, you become emotionally invisible. You must teach her through behaviour, not words, that your time is sacred. So when she texts, you don't ignore, but you delay calmly, respectfully, maybe hours, maybe a day. When she wants to meet, you don't cancel your workout or your mission. You say, "I'm free later. Let's talk then." You don't disappear. You reframe the dynamic because now you're not one of many chasing her. You're the one she has to qualify for. And this isn't about ego, it's about energy. When a woman waits for your presence, she starts to value your presence. She realizes you're not an escape from boredom. You're a reward for patience. This delay, this pause, it's a powerful psychological tool. It creates contrast, and contrast creates curiosity. Suddenly, she's checking your story, wondering what's on your mind. She doesn't feel ignored, she feels challenged, and feminine energy craves challenge, not in conflict, but in conquest. You are no longer the man who gives everything. You're the man who gives meaning. So let her wait. Let her feel the absence of your validation. And when you return, do so, not to impress, but to connect. Not as a man who's been summoned, but as a man who chose to arrive. Because real masculine energy isn't about availability. It's about priority. And the more you honor your time, the more she'll honor your presence. Say no without explaining. Number 4, say no without explaining and watch her respect you more. There comes a moment in every connection where you're asked to bend. Maybe it's a request to cancel your plans. Maybe it's a subtle demand to compromise your values. Maybe it's pressure to give more than your willing time, energy, even money. And in that moment, how you respond tells her everything about you. If you hesitate, if you justify, if you say yes just to keep the peace, you may win her approval for a second, but you'll lose her respect for much longer. Because women, even if they don't consciously say it, are drawn to men with spine, not just heart. And a man with a spine knows how to say no. No apology, no explanation, just quiet, grounded clarity. Why? Because when you explain too much, you hand her your power. You say, I need you to understand me so you don't leave. That's not masculine energy. That's fear wearing a polite mask. But when you say no, that doesn't align with me and stop right there, you shift the dynamic instantly. Now she sees you're not swayed by mood swings, guilt trips, or emotional tests. She sees that your peace matters more than pleasing, that your principles are not negotiable even for beauty. And this paradoxically is what draws her in. You stop being the man who melts under pressure. You become the mountain she has to climb. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In relationships, your boundary is not a wall. It's a path, a filter, a signal. It says, this is who I am. Come closer if you're aligned. Step back if you're not. The truth is, women may test your limits, but they secretly hope you'll pass. Because a man who won't betray himself for her is a man she can trust to lead. And when you say no without drama, you're not shutting her out. You're showing her how you protect your peace, and by extension, hers. Real connection isn't built on sacrifice, it's built on standards. So the next time she asks something that doesn't sit right, don't argue, don't defend, just breathe and say no. Let her feel your quiet power. Because that moment, that silence might be the most unforgettable thing about you. Pull her close, then let go. Number 5, pull her close, then let go. The power of emotional restraint. There is a kind of touch that leaves no fingerprints, a kind of closeness that makes someone miss you even while you're standing right in front of them, and it happens in one moment when you pull her close, then gently let go. Not because you're distant, but because you're in control. Because you've mastered something 99% of men never will. The ability to hold back not from fear, but from strength. You see, most men believe the key to a woman's heart lies in constantly giving more. More affection, more words, more time. They chase, they offer, they indulge. But the truth is, what awakens a woman's deepest longing is not abundance. It's restraint. It's the man who kisses her forehead, smiles and walks away. It's the man who listens with presence, holds her for a breath longer than expected, and releases her without a word. Why? because this man isn't ruled by desire. He's ruled by principle. He doesn't give in to the rush of the moment just to feel needed. He creates tension, not to manipulate her, but to remind her he is whole even in silence, and that to her is electric. Carl Jung wrote that only the paradox comes anywhere near to comprehending the fullness of life. In this paradox of presence and distance, of intensity and discipline, a woman sees a mystery she can't define, and that's exactly what keeps her coming back. When you can resist the urge to consume her energy, when you can give without clinging and love without losing yourself, you show her something few men ever do: emotional sovereignty. You don't need to own her attention. You don't seek to fill a void. You offer connection from a place of fullness and let her step forward when she's ready. That short embrace, that half smile before turning away. It lingers, it haunts, it stays with her when no one else is around, because it tells a story, not of neediness, but of depth. A man who can pull her close, then walk away, is unforgettable, not because of what he gave, but because of what he didn't, becoming the man she can't forget. Number 6, the final message: becoming the man she can't forget. There is a kind of power that speaks without raising its voice. It lives in the pauses between your words, in the calm behind your eyes, in the boundaries you refuse to cross, not to punish her, but to protect yourself. This power doesn't chase, it doesn't explain, it doesn't apologize for being whole, it simply is, and that changes everything. Because in a world where most men sell themselves for attention, validation, or comfort, you become a storm of calm, a rare force, the kind of man who doesn't need to prove his worth, because his very silence speaks it. That one moment when you didn't respond to provocation. That one decision when you walked away instead of pleading for attention. That one word, no spoken without fear or explanation. Those are not acts of withdrawal. They are acts of presence. Each one signals, I am not here to be consumed, I am here to be respected. And the irony, it's that exact refusal to chase that, draws her closer. She starts to wonder. She replays your words. Your absence becomes louder than anyone else's presence. Your distance feels more intimate than anyone's affection, because you didn't try to be unforgettable. You simply honoured yourself. And that burned a shape into her memory. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. So don't perform. Don't overthink, don't force, live with discipline, act with integrity, walk with clarity. Let your stillness speak louder than her games. Let your boundaries reflect your worth. Let your restraint ignite curiosity in ways that need no explanation. And in doing so, you will not just earn her attention, you'll haunt her soul. If you've ever done something that changed the way a woman looked at you, not through words, but through strength, type unforgettable in the comments. And if you're ready to become the kind of man who doesn't need to be loud to be remembered, subscribe now, because the quietest men often leave, the loudest echoes. You didn't chase, you didn't explain, you didn't bend yourself into the shape she wanted. You simply stood as you are. And that left a mark. Because in a world of noise, your silence became unforgettable. In a world of weak boundaries, your no became sacred. In a world of men begging to be seen, your absence became magnetic. So remember, it's not what you say that changes her. It's the energy you withhold, the standards you uphold, and the peace you refuse to trade for attention. That's the power of self-mastery. And if you want more content that sharpens your mind, strengthens your heart, and makes you the kind of man women respect and remember, subscribe, because this is just the beginning. And when she feels that you're no longer waiting, no longer watching, no longer pleading with silent glances or delayed messages, something shifts inside her. The illusion of control dissolves. The power dynamic flips, and she realizes you're not just another man hoping to be loved. You are love. You are fire. You are the mountain that doesn't move when the storm comes. You stopped needing her, and that's what makes her need you. That's the paradox. Let go of the chase, and she'll chase the man who finally chose himself. You were never meant to beg for love. You were meant to stand tall in it without leaning. When you master emotional independence, you stop trying to get something from women and start being something they can't ignore. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about realizing you don't need to be chosen to feel complete. That's Stoic love. So now try 1 week. 1 week of not seeking validation, of building a life so rich, so full of purpose that anyone who enters it must rise to meet you. Then come back and tell me, did she sense it? If you felt this message, brother, drop a comment. I don't shrink for love. I expand in silence. And don't forget to subscribe and join the Stoic Brotherhood. Until next time, stay grounded, stay powerful, and lead with silence.